Today we're focusing on the Williams Grove Historical Steam Engine Association's effort to save the Carousel building from Williams Grove Amusement Park. So first, a little background. The Williams Grove Amusement Park was originally a picnic grove from the 1850s. Like many parks of the time, it flourished due to its proximity near a rail line. Folks from neighboring towns could take the train out to the grove for summer picnics. After a change of ownership, a large carousel was installed in 1928, and more new rides came over the years, including one of only 15 swoopers ever built. In 1938, Williams Grove Speedway was constructed on a neighboring piece of property, and in the 1950s, the Williams Grove Historical Steam Engine Association was formed and co-located on Grove land at the south gate of the park. And this is how things operated for years. In 1972, there was a change of park ownership and numerous new rides were brought in. Unfortunately, before the park could even open for the season under the new ownership, Hurricane Agnes hit. The park was cleaned up and operated until the mid-2000s when the owner was looking to retire, and unable to find a buyer, the park and Speedway was turned over to his daughter, and the decision was made to focus only on the Speedway. They sold off the rides, and after 150 years, the park came to an end. And that brings us 20 years later to the present day. Most of the buildings on the former park grounds have severely deteriorated. The only ride left standing is the Cyclone wooden roller coaster, and that is slowly being reclaimed by Mother Nature. The Carousel Pavilion is somehow still in pretty good condition, though, and the plan is to attempt to move the building about a quarter mile up a hill, across a creek and a railroad track until it eventually settles on its new foundation.
I am Tony Toman. I'm a 43-year member of the organization. I've spent 21 years on the board. I've been on the board since early 2000s. I've been president 8 years altogether. I've been in treasurer for 2 years. I was a secretary for probably 7 or 8 years there. Spent a lot of time on the board, but just helping the organization. With the closing of the amusement park, the Hughes family made the decision that we either had to buy the ground or move. Probably wasn't feasible for us to try to move from this grounds. So we looked at price tag. We started at $2.5 million, negotiated that to $2.25 million. One of our members actually put up his farm as collateral. So that's how we got to the point of purchasing the property.
Keep an eye on these bottles. They were found during the excavation of the building.
We spent a lot of our resources just trying to pay for ground, doubling up payments where we could. So that's how we got to where we are.
This creek they have to cross with the Carousel building is at least partially responsible for some of the park's woes over the years.
Kathy Hughes approached one of our members, Barney Kimmel, about donating the Carousel house to us. She knew we were into preserving things and the past. She wanted to see us have it. She gave us that chance. We discussed it at a board meeting. There was a lot of discussion at that board meeting. But in the end, we decided that we wanted to raise $100,000 in donations before we'd say yes, that we were going to move forward. That took us about a year to do, but we're well over $100,000 at this point. We're probably about $114,000 somewhere in that ballpark at this point. It took $62,000 to move it to the location where it's going to sit in the middle of our grounds as a centerpiece. We want to renovate it. So we're going to spend time. That 43-ton structure is just amazing. But in the end, the preservation of that preserves the Williams Grove name. The Williams Grove Amusement Park, the Williams Grove Speedway, and our organization all mean a lot to this area. We've been here 67 years, and we're not going anywhere, is what that shows.
People around South Central Pennsylvania, they're very familiar with the history of Williams Grove Park and what happened to it. What is it you want the rest of the country to know about the project?
We want them to understand we're trying to preserve that piece of history. Even though we don't have a carousel for in it, we want to let everybody know that we're here to preserve Williams Grove's name and what that amusement park meant to so many, being a park that was free admission for most of its time, free parking for most of its time, and it was something that anybody could go to and afford. A family of 6, a family of 8 could afford something like that, not just the big amusement parks. It's just different from those. And if you've been to Knoebels, also knowing, just finding out in recent weeks that there was Willow Mill Park in Silver Spring Township. I mean, 2 amusement parks along streams like the Yellow Breeches and its historic value. It's just neat to be able to preserve something like that.
Speaking of the Yellow Breeches, I've had the opportunity to look underneath the Carousel building. And given the age of that building and the propensity for that amusement park to flood, I'm really surprised at how good it looks underneath.
Being up in the air, sitting probably about 2 to 3 feet in the air, it could dry out. So even when it did flood, and I'm sure Agnes in 72 flooded well above the boards and the floor in it, it had that ability to dry out. And that's probably what has saved it since the 1920s. And our hope is it's 1927, 28, somewhere in that ballpark when the Richwine family paid to have it built in a park. We hope to have the renovation and everything done so that when it's 100 years old in 3 years, we could celebrate that.
They had tagged this tree as possibly needing to come down, and it turned out to be the case.
That's our next step. So raising money to renovate, to make it look as it did when it had a carousel in it, and being able to show that off at its 100th year anniversary is our next step. The horses behind me, we've had a lot of donations where they donated $5,000, they get a horse that's going to hang in there once we get it renovated. So that's what the horses behind me are for.
So I believe you have a QR code on your website somewhere to donate to the cause?
Yes, we do.
So I'll put that up on the screen.
Here are those bottles I pointed out earlier. They sat on this beam during the entire journey up the hill. This gives a pretty clear indication of how smooth this rig rolls. But has anyone ever heard of whistle soda? So by the end of day one, the Carousel building had left the park and traveled about 900 feet. Crew was scheduled to come back the following day to finish the job. When I arrived on the morning of day two, I discovered a steam traction engine making its way around the grounds. And later I discovered that there were actually about half a dozen up and running that morning. I thought it was cool, but I figured it was the kind of thing you'd expect to see at a steam engine club. I didn't realize at the time how special this actually was. Storms rolled through overnight and dumped several inches of rain in the area, so there was a bit of concern about the condition of the ground Saturday morning. The building has to go about another 720 feet today to reach the concrete foundation, where it'll receive its new lease on life. Being a Saturday, there were quite a few more people present to see the move. It's my understanding that the Wolf family moving the building is related to the Buckingham family that manufactures the equipment for moving the building. I suppose that makes it really convenient if you have a technical support issue while moving a building on a Saturday afternoon. Incidentally, the building we're rolling past right now is a recent addition and doesn't appear in the overhead map that I shared with you. Here they're getting ready to turn the corner and head towards home. At this point, I finally started to catch on to some rumblings in the crowd. The word was that the steam engines were gathering to make the final pull to the pad. Obviously a symbolic move. The house movers were more than capable of completing the job, but I'm a sentimental guy, so the symbolism was not lost on me. Ultimately, a chain broke and they were not able to pull the building, but it made for a once-in-a-lifetime photo op. They went back to moving the Carousel house and performed this slick move where they were moving forward, while rotating the building to orient it properly on the pad. And here's the whole Wolf family gathered in front of their handiwork for a group photo, backed by the unmistakable racket of a bunch of steam whistles. So if you're the owner of an antique carousel, I'd like to suggest that you contact the Williams Grove Steam Engine Association and see if you can work something out for the 100th anniversary of that building. Just saying. And just like that, with a final little nudge, after nearly 100 years, the Williams Grove Amusement Park Carousel building had a new home. So the Williams Grove Steam Engine Association is doing work here that's right up my alley, and if you enjoy seeing videos like this, you can support this channel over on Patreon. And if you don't want to miss any of our restoration projects, click that link to the left and come along for the ride.